Let's get ready and go to Mars, everybody. It's Total Recall from 1990. All right, Kevin, this is an Arnold Schwarzenegger sci-fi movie. Did you end up liking this one? And what's your first memory of that before we get to the good, the bad, and the ugly of Total Recall?
Oh man, I remember being pumped up like a little Austrian Kevin, seeing the previews for this as a kid, man, with my parents. This was all over Entertainment Tonight. I don't know if I think that's still on, but
That's a good question. I don't watch normal TV.
we cut the cable a long time ago. There used
yeah.
to be this show, a variety show that would tell you what was coming out soon, and it would give you all the hot goss for the week or for the day, whatever it was.
Don't they call that TMZ these days?
Yeah, pretty much.
Or is that just way more gossipy?
No one from TMZ plays Sex by the Fire, so
this is true. This is very true.
Anyway, but yeah, like I remember E.T. got plugs for this like nobody's business. So they'd like show all these little like behind the scene clips, and the more they showed, the closer it got to the picture, like the more you wanted to see it just because it looked so wild.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is like what, hot on the heels of RoboCop from what was that, 87?
Yeah, about 86, 87-ish.
Somewhere around in there. Yeah. But, you know, Paul Verhoeven is, I love him from like Starship Troopers. So Starship Troopers, Total Recall, RoboCop. He's my jam. I even like Hollow Man. And that's his Invisible Man take. That starred Kevin Bacon.
I didn't get to see all of that, but from what I saw, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. But yeah, my earliest memory is basically, I want to say, from the video store. I never knew this was in theaters. If I did, I probably would have gone or snuck into it anyway. But I really enjoyed this one. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a video cassette tape. VCR, everybody. And I played the hell out of it for a whole weekend. I kept putting it on rotate. I'm sure I drove my mother completely insane by doing it because it's like 3 titties? God damn. Hey, I wish I had 3 hands.
My grandmother only had 1 titty, so I could have just seen her being frustrated. Like, what do you need with all those?
That's 2 more than you need, girl. But no, I don't think I have my VHS tape anymore, but I do have like my original DVD. I got behind me. If I reach for it at some point, I have the original DVD set that comes in the Martian tin, and it still has the little cardboard sleeve. So cool. I'll bust that out during this review at some point and show it off. But like, and I got my Blu-rays. I got like an old movie button that people wore on their little vests. They're items of flair, everybody.
Yeah.
And I got that as a little swaggy thing, and I've been a fan for years. This is one of my favorite Arnold movies. It's also one of my favorite Paul Verhoeven movies. So
it would be hard for me to pick a favorite of either one of them. But this is a really good amalgamation because they're working together. And they wanted to work together for some time. Like, he convinced Verhoeven not to work on Black Rain so they could work together on this. Yeah. Okay. Like, Dino De Laurentiis was originally supposed to make this. And then, of course, he went bankrupt, and Carolco got a hold of it. And, yeah, everything just kind of took off, and everything changed into an Arnold movie from there, like a true Arnold and Paul Verhoeven vehicle.
Yeah.
And golly, I'm so glad it worked out that way.
Yeah, me too. And it's largely based off the story from Philip K. Dick. And this has got enough serious sci-fi to it, but it also feels very much like an Arnold movie. And if we want to go ahead and get started onto the good, Kevin,
let's get the good.
Yeah, let's do this. For anybody who doesn't recognize this man, Dean Norris, Breaking Bad. He was Walter White's brother-in-law.
Was he really?
Yes, he was, and he's also in our TV show Tremors that we've covered on our podcast. And Dean Norris, fantastic. He looks really young, even under all that prosthetic makeup, and he's actually very thin. So it's
Quite
kind of hard.
trim.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, I don't remember him being like that, but that's totally rad to see that. So he's definitely a highlight for me, and I want to say most of the casting is pretty tight. The only one I didn't really dig was not Ronnie Cox, but like I don't know. I don't think I really hated any of the casting. Maybe it's more of a plot point I have a problem with, but casting's pretty dope.
You know, as far I want to call this an 80s flick. It's not. It came out in 90, but they started working on it in 88, I think.
Yeah, it was a tail end of like 80s action sci-fi kind of style movies though.
Yeah, and I'll get a little bit into that in the bad. It's really not, but whatever. This had a few telltale signs of the 80s with it, and I liked what it did bring. Hold on, I'm about to 0 point. We need to get back to the good.
It's okay. We do call the 0 point reviews, Kevin.
I'm going to backstep for a second, going back to Dean. Didn't recognize Dean. What I did want to point out, what we started to talk about before we got going, is I noticed things this time that I hadn't noticed before. And I've seen this movie fucking hundreds of times. I've seen it so many times since I was 10 years old. I did see it in the theater, by the way. And the first thing, of course, noticed was Dean. Never caught that Dean was in this movie before.
Mm-hmm.
So
I noticed it probably a couple years ago when I watched the movie for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, so here I am like 44 going stupid. And
it's not a bad thing to catch things like that, though. That's always fun to be like, oh, I didn't remember that person was in this movie. That's pretty fun.
And then to your point about the plot points, like the big plot point of there being two blocks and that they were at war, I didn't really catch that previously. I had always assumed that it was like the mutant terrorist group that they were at war with. It had nothing to do with them at all. I was like, oh, okay. And I refused to see it, and the voice in my head went, I bet that new Total Recall movie may talk about that.
Recall.
But I wouldn't know, but I wouldn't watch that motherfucker. But the reason why I put Dean up there wasn't just so much because it was the first time I noticed it, but it was also because one of the things I loved so much about this movie was the latex effects, was the mutant effects. Like, that was just the bee's knees for the time.
Yeah, it was super incredible work, and it all looks absolutely fantastic. Some things get a little hyper, like, goofy looking, but for its time, it was spot on. So I totally appreciate, like, even the goofier things, like where the heads are starting to explode in the atmosphere. Arnold's trying to get the thing out of his nose from his brain with the bug. I mean, yes, exactly that picture, Kevin. And it looks, it's goofy, but it works.
I love that scene so much. Like, it's going to get to the fugly of why it's wrong, but I love it still. There's so much wrong with this movie that was so unique and so gripping. You've never seen it before, like that scene. You've never seen somebody's eyeballs getting pushed out of their head before. You couldn't look away, and it wasn't so horrible that everyone had to like cover their kids' face in the theaters. At least my parents didn't. Whatever that says about them. I don't know. It was fucking cool, and that was one of the last times that you'd seen this type of filmmaking from the 80s before everything started turning CGI in the 90s. And so
I want to say it was
really
a little
big
closer
deal.
to 93 when the CGI really started to impede, but you were starting to see flashes of it beforehand.
Oh, yes. You saw it a lot. I mean, I don't want to keep ragging on Arnold, and I will in the next segment, but T2 is a whole lot of CGI. still very much a lot of practical effects, but they
Right.
started leaning on that CGI. But that was a movie that could. Not
Right.
every movie that came out after that should at all.
Right. Well, they put a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of resources into making it look as good as absolutely possible.
Yeah, and the man behind it had a vision. So anyway.
Yep. But no, the other thing I'd say is I really like about this movie is the absolute pacing of it. It feels like this movie does not let up for its runtime of about 2 hours and how long is this? 20 minutes ish?
Let's see here.
One
Yes.
out 113 minutes in total and counting credits. So nearly 2 hour movie.
Yeah. And it's kind of it is a spy flick, and it runs almost like a James Bond film,
A little bit.
where it's running into one scene into the next. Like he's never slowing down really.
And if they are, it's for a very important storyline purpose. It's not, and it doesn't last long. It's literally for just a few seconds and then boom, you're going on. It's not like movies these days where they linger on something for minutes on end and you're like, can we get this rolling here? There's still another hour in this movie left and it's already at an hour and a half.
This is one of those pictures where I always complain, because it's like, golly, you know what? I love your story. I love your dialogue. I love the character development, but I just want to see you beat the fuck out of each other for 2 hours. This movie kind of did that. And again, here I am, 44. I've seen this movie hundreds of times since I was 10. And I didn't realize that there were two actual warring factions that didn't involve the mutants whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So,
yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the joys of a movie like this is rewatchability and being able to go back every time and pick up something new because you were distracted by something else that was just so much fun that the next time you watch through, you're like, oh, hey, I'm picking up on Dean Norris is in this. I'm picking up on I never really liked Melina. I'm picking up on why would you choose her over Sharon Stone sort of thing. So there's a good replayability on like, well, where could it tip you off on, because the ending in and of itself makes a lot of people guess and wonder, so what really happened here? Is this really a dream? Is it not a dream? Or was this part of the recall experience? Like, what exactly was the ending? And I'm not going to say this is the first movie to do it. It certainly wasn't the last and won't be the last movie to ever try and do, was this all a dream sort of scenario? But this movie pulled it off fairly well, and it's very enjoyable. I actually almost look at this as like, this is where the Matrix maybe got a couple ideas from.
I could see that.
Yeah. But it actually feels a little bit more like Existence from... So anybody who's curious about that kind of a movie, that's more of a Cronenberg movie, though.
Where it really makes you think.
Yep, and makes you squirm a little bit too. Like, this movie's got some scenes in it that they're not necessarily squirm-inducing, but they'll make you go, I don't know about that.
A man got stabbed in the penis by a 13-inch knife by a little lady.
Yes, exactly. Named Thumbelina.
Yeah.
That's something cracked my wife up so bad. And my wife's not typically into movies like this, but she really enjoyed this movie. She had a lot of fun with it. She just had a couple like minor complaints after watching it. And it was her first time watching it. So that was a lot of fun.
So she did like it?
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
She thought it was a lot of fun. So
my wife still refuses.
That's not her thing. I get it.
Well, I told her, I said, she just stabbed this guy in the dick. She's like, I don't like midget jokes. I said, my God, they're called little people, you fucking ableist. Jesus.
Consider this a divorce.
Don't get me canceled, you bitch.
Too late. Canceled. Lost another 100 subscribers. No, I'm kidding. Please.
She got mad at me because I was showing her a gentleman with a samurai sword that took out a dummy's shins. And that
Kung
reminded
Pao?
No, but it reminded me of Cotton Hill. Yes. So anyway,
that aside, you got any other bullet points on the good side, Kevin?
yeah, man. You know what else I found out? Talking about the spots that they had on ET, and they showed you, oh, how cutting edge is this? Was the X-ray vision? Where
I like that. Yes.
Yeah, they sold it to us that this was this cutting edge technology, this X-ray vision that you'd probably even see in the airports one day, that shows them in real time moving along, and you could see the weapons. Turns out the technology didn't work, and that was all hand drawn. The animators had to sit there and like draw super fucking like fast to actually get the people going in real time. I lost Jeff. This is where we pause for dude.
That's okay. I am here. A little minor technical difficulty. I'll put a little clip in there.
That's okay.
I was trying to hit. I don't know what I was trying to hit, but it got me. But
the funny thing is I was saying the tech didn't work at all, and you disappeared. So it works.
Maybe I will leave that in. You're just like, what the hell?
No, the X-ray tech was supposed to be this real thing, but as it turned out, it didn't work at all, and they couldn't get it to work. It wasn't gonna work, so they had to have the animators just draw super fast and have that. It was hand drawn. They did it the old-fashioned way, just really expensive.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
yeah. The visuals in this are so pretty in this movie. Oh, he can make like a wallpaper out of half the stuff from the Mars settings to that.
I like the mutants.
I meant
like
wallpaper wise, but if you want that as your wallpaper, I do not shame anybody for doing that.
Oh, the wallpaper. Oh yeah. Okay then. Sorry.
Fine, Kevin. Instead of that, I can show this off.
Neat.
DVD set. And this little paper sleeve that holds it up and everything from Artisan Entertainment. Ooh. Nice little tin of Mars. Special promo offers. And then you got the disc inside, and it sits on a little felt.
Oh, cool.
With a little booklet for flipping through. This was the special edition. So had this for a very, very long time. But you can find these on eBay for not a bad price. Just make sure they're not too dinged up. That's all.
Yeah, that's the only thing about tins.
But the 4K looks fucking phenomenal. So I highly recommend everybody go get that. We are an Amazon affiliate. We got a link in the description down below. If you are interested in getting that, it does kick us back a few cents to keep the lights on around here. That's my show moment for this episode. Thank you.
Play us off. Anyway.
Recall.
That's going to get stuck in my head. That's been stuck in my head.
I meant to actually clip that, but I was like, I didn't have a chance to do it. So.
All right. Well, let's see. Did we miss anything for the good? I mean, I'm just going to pine about all the violence.
No, I love the action scenes. Like, I could easily just straight up say the movie was Paul Verhoeven directed the shit out of this movie, and he got so much mileage out of everything in this movie, from great shots to the editing, just absolutely fantastic. I loved his angles he was choosing for certain things. Just love the overall aesthetic. I think overall he really pulled it together. So he's going to be my final point on that is Paul Verhoeven crushed it with this movie.
I guess there's one final actor that I should probably point out before we go to the bad, because he's worth mentioning in the bad, but really in a good way, is Michael Ironside.
Fantastic. I wish they had more of a fight scene. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah. Like he's got an awesome death, like super awesome death.
Yeah.
But golly, he's scary. And we'll talk a bit more about it. But Ronnie Cox's henchman, the last time we saw Ronnie Cox have a really scary henchman was Kurtwood Smith. And
Yes.
really, how do you outdo that? You can't. You really can't. You have to have a different kind of crazy. And I think that's where Michael Ironside really kind of kicked up and excelled, was being just as scary, scarier in a way, I think, than Kurtwood Smith. Kurtwood Smith was scary in a violent way. Like Michael Ironside was just always angry and brooding.
Right. Kurtwood had more of a personality to him. This was more of, I'm going to take some sick delight in just like
Punching
you.
you.
You've been banging my girl for God knows how long, and now I'm going to take it out of your ass.
that was awkward.
It was very awkward. Oh my God. But no, very enjoyable. Michael Ironside is fantastic in this. As we get to the bad, that'll be one of my things I talk about. But
All right, should I bring it up then?
let's do this thing.
The bad.
Yep. It's like pulling a bug out of your nose.
A little bit. Now, we said it before. This was not supposed to be a Paul Verhoeven movie. This was not supposed to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Schwarzenegger really liked the script. He wanted to play Douglas Quaid. Dino De Laurentiis had the film rights. He had the film. He had Patrick Swayze playing Doug Quayle.
I don't know about that. I like Patrick, but I just don't see it.
Yep, he was an accountant and a skinnier guy, very unassuming. And Arnold wanted him to, look more like him once the script got bought by Carolco. So
Right.
he became a construction worker, and he lost his mind and tried to make him more of a vulnerable character because he's this big, huge killer, but nobody in his mind. And you're like, this is just an Arnold movie. You made this movie so you'd look fucking badass.
Right.
And I could see that as a 45-year-old male. As a kid, I did not give a shit at all. I was there for it. And I've been there for it for so long that I feel like it's Stockholm Syndrome.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to be like, this is stupid. I like it so much.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, one of my points would be like, I just mentioned it briefly, is like there's not much of an actual fight between Arnold and either Ronnie Cox's character or Michael Ironside's character. It's a little anticlimactic at the end where he doesn't actually fight anybody. There's a minor fight, but you don't get this all encompassing like let's fuck shit up and beat the fuck out of somebody. It's no, I just need to get you out of my way so I can trigger the machine and activate the air system that's going to happen. Well, or the meltdown of the planet, as some people thought.
The meltdown of the planet. They had the big action sequence, which I like to call Arnold action, at the end of the second act, which was not part of, him taking down the bad guys. It was the big
you.
Yeah, it was this amazing sequence with him single-handedly taking down this giant drill that even destroys the Batmobile in Arkham City or Arkham Knight. Like, it's big and bad, and he finds a way to take it down with an itty-bitty little drill.
And barely get hurt in the process.
Yes. And Melina, too, like,
she could have gotten chewed up. That would have been okay.
Yeah. Her arm ripped apart, bones broken.
Hell yeah.
There's not a whole lot of realism to an 80s action flick. So if you're looking for that sort of thing and you've not seen this film before, you might be a little surprised at how very little realism there is in this flick.
Well, yeah, you're also going to like freaking Mars at this point, and how much more realistic can you be? Like, it's a red planet. No, we ain't making it there in our lifetime. Well, we might, but
yeah, this was 2087, I think it was.
Something like that.
Yeah, I won't be there. I'll be like 107 unless they've like figure out the cure for cancer and all sorts of other shit. I'm not gonna make it.
Well, one of the things that spawned from this movie was the eventual TV show Total Recall 2070, and we will be covering that on our
Oh,
podcast slash channel in the near future. And that plays very differently than this. That it is not like this action series. It's more like a neo-noir kind of series. It plays more like a mystery and actual investigations. So it's a fun show, but it's a very different style from this movie. And it's probably a good thing there's a disconnect between the two, that it can be allowed to be its own entity, but just only refer to things like the Recall Corporation. So
yeah.
but yeah, I had another bad point, and that's I didn't really like Melina as a character. Why would Arnold trade Sharon Stone? Sorry, Rachel, for Rachel Tickleton.
Because her friend has 3 boobies. That's hard to compete with.
But
And
she's not the one with the 3 boobs.
But she's also flexible enough, giggity, that she might, you and me and her and her and her, you know the words, simultaneous loving. Anyway.
Quattro?
Cinco boobes. No, I don't know.
You need a third hand for that.
Third hand. The dialogue wasn't the best, but what else are you going to say in that situation?
Well, that's the other thing I was going to mention is like, you know, at times the dialogue just isn't like the best in this movie. The story is fine. It's just some of the dialogue just doesn't jive.
John Peters is involved. There's cocaine everywhere, I'm sure. Like catchphrases.
A hell of a drug, man.
Make it awesome. Make it a catchphrase. Make it epic. But God, you know, for as much as I hate that guy, golly, he made a good film. He did. Or he helped make a good film. Verhoeven made this film. Arnold made this film.
Yes.
They both made this film. But I agree with you. Melina is not as interesting as a character as Sharon's character was at all. Not even as a spy. Not as a heroine.
She just didn't... I don't know. I don't feel like she had chemistry with Arnold. And I feel like at times that kind of impeded the movie a little bit. And I couldn't really buy that he was going to ditch basically a Sharon Stone hottie for somebody like that.
I can see that.
He likes his 30 maids.
Sleazy and brunette.
But no, that's about what I got for the bad. I mean, not a whole lot to bag on, and it's not really bagging. It's just nitpicking at that point.
Yeah, because again, it's an Arnold flick. If you've never seen an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, maybe this is the one for you, because this is pretty much like a good film of his. But you're not going to see any realism.
Before he gets into like comedies and like lesser action movies.
Yes, there is nothing less about this. This movie is a full 10. It's only got a rating of 7.5, but like on the intensity level, like you said, it doesn't stop. It like once he goes to recall, this movie is like gone. He's running the entire time, and people are shooting at him, and you're like, "Oh my god, this is crazy!" And it's fun, and there's monsters and all sorts of neat shit.
Yeah, everything. There's something in there for everybody in this movie.
Yes. Yeah. So, well, I got it. It's only worth the joke. There was a cameo in the movies. Like I said, it's a 90s film, so we got to give it a cameo. The 80s showed up. There's a window between them in this scene, and they're hollering at each other through a fucking video phone.
Dude, that is so 80s.
That is the most 80s shit I have ever seen.
Pretty much. I mean, I think they did that pretty well, but it's definitely an 80s thing.
Oh yes, it was so campy and intentional. Like the scene where she's sitting there like tapping all her nails and changing the colors instantly.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was totally cool. But seeing the fucking video phone and the window right there in the same scene just fucking killed me laughing.
Yeah.
Knock on the fucking window.
I'll be right the fuck out, dumbass.
There's no blinds. Shit. Anyway.
Or just at the glass, just be like,
anyway. Okay.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's going to devolve quickly.
Yep.
So, next segment.
Yep. Let's do the ugly, Kevin.
I brought the fugly.
Yeah, the final blue screen of death.
It really was. Considering this was a red film, this was an eyesore ending. It really was.
Yeah, this is the only thing I really kind of was like, that doesn't look right. I wish they could have spent a little bit more money to make it look better than this.
Yeah, and compound that with the fact that, like you said, they didn't have that chemistry together.
Yep.
Like, I had more fun watching him and Sharon Stone on screen together.
Yeah, there was something there for chemistry.
Yeah, whether it was them fighting, loving, whatever. And I know that was supposed to be her character, but
right,
they had it together. They had that it thing, that factor.
Yeah, and unfortunately, him and Melina just didn't click for me. But that's just me. I could be wrong. But if this was all truly a dream, maybe he was still married to Sharon Stone when he would wake up.
That's true. That's true. And who knows? He could have been like, oh, thank God I'm back. Or his like marriage would have been broken from that point on, like completely untrusting of his wife or unsatisfied, whichever.
Sometimes real life imitates art.
Here, wear this wig.
I was going to say something worse. I was going to say, here's a paper bag to put over your head so I don't have to look at you.
Put this picture on it.
It reminds me of Val Bundy in that episode of Married with Children when he comes home from the strip club and he hands, oh no, it's an early season and he went to the other guy in the shoe store that worked there for a while. Oh God, what the hell was his name?
Oh, the guy with the mustache.
No. Anyway, but it's the flight attendant episode, and the other guy's got like 2 flight attendants that are coming over to his place, and Al's having to stay there for a minute, and they're all both hot blondes, and they all want to sleep with the other guy, and Al has to end up spending time with one of them while one of them's playing in the other room. And when at the end of the episode, he's offered, I don't care that you're married, I'll sleep with you. And I was like, I'm going to cry, but I have to go. I'm married with children. And then he goes home with the wig and hands her the wig. And he's like, here, wear this. And she's like, what for? That he just picks her up and hauls her upstairs. To have a rum. Any Married with Children fan will be like, is probably screaming at me right now, like what the hell the other shoe salesman's name was. He had like the blonde hair and he was like super suave, but he was only around for like the first 2 seasons or so.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the black guy.
No.
He was part of No Ma'am and Everything. Anyway.
I'm going to look it up. Keep talking.
Well, all right. So another thing I had for the fugly in the future is everybody drives a fucking Tesla. Don't know if you caught that or not. Cybertrucks driving around everywhere.
Yeah, we did notice that. That was pretty funny.
And Robert Picardo's driving one of them. So, I mean.
Yep.
Which was also really cool. Really
of
cool.
Course. Love Robert Picardo.
And then the last ugly thing I had was getting in trouble because of this movie. It must have been 6th grade because we were watching this Nova video, The Miracle of Birth, and it shows an actual live birth. And if you've ever graduated 6th grade, I'm sure you've seen this video too. But as the child comes out of the crotch, it looks, I don't want to say similar. That's kind of insulting. It looks exactly like this. Yep. And my fucking buddy's sitting next to me while this lady's screaming, giving birth on this video.
Take my hands.
Quaid. It fucking kills me.
I know.
Destroys my funny bone, snaps it in half. I lose my shit, and the teacher sends me out to the fucking principal's office. I'm like, fuck!
I was having a good time, bitch. Have her talk to Kuato next time. And I figured out the Married with Children name. It's Luke Ventura.
Luke Ventura.
Yep. Early couple seasons. So that was way before Griff.
Griff, that's what his name. I was thinking Barney. That was not it.
Oh, there is a Barney in the show, but that's one of his poker buddies.
See. Anyway.
This isn't a Married with Children show discussion, but some of the stuff does mimic it a little bit at times.
A lot of times, considering that was who raised us, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I guess the only other ugly thing I would talk about with this movie is how, like, early DVDs just look like utter crap on home video. Like, it wasn't until we got a Blu-ray that it finally looked somewhat decent. You'd have to go back to a VHS tape for it to be fun looking. But, like, the DVD set I showed you from Artisan, that was fine. It's just earlier editions of that weren't great, so.
I think that's the edition I have.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched it through my friend's Plex server, so it looked really nice.
Oh, that's pretty good though.
Yeah, I can't complain terribly much. But this is one of those movies that, yes, I would very much be interested in upgrading to 4K. The
looks
special
fantastic.
Effects, yeah, the latex effects alone are worth your price of admission there.
Oh yeah, I was absolutely floored because I hadn't watched that yet, and I mean, I had a previous edition of the Blu-ray, which looked really good. But then when it came out on 4K, I'm like, it's gotta be in the collection for that. And it just looks absolutely stunning. It makes all the other editions look like, wow, that really did need a new scan and a pass through and clean it up and make it look good. All Paul Verhoeven movies should be on 4K.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, there's really not much to ugly with this movie, except a couple of things. But.
No. Well, okay, so the big reason why I put up the blue screen here wasn't just so much of the hideousness of it.
Right.
Okay, so how does this movie end? Arnold just takes his hands and he sticks it in this reactor that, like, heats up all this metal that they've been mining out of these mountains for God knows how long. And it heats up all the ice that's under it. Yep. It was a reactor to create oxygen. So if you've graduated 6th grade, like we just talked about, you know
smarter than a 6th grader, everybody.
When you introduce extreme heat to extreme cold, it doesn't turn to liquid, it turns into a gas, and gases aren't fucking cold. So they're getting blown out by steam into no atmosphere.
Yeah, there's a couple logic problems in some of the movie.
My point being is, for a science fiction picture, there's no science in this movie. So just abandon it.
This is pretty true. Well, and also, why would an alien race create this? Just for humans to eventually use it? Or what was the real story behind, like, this stupid machine? Like, why did they just leave it behind for thousands of years like they were talking about? It's like, yo, come on. What are we doing here?
We evolved and probably lessened the property value of Mars, and they left.
Oh, so it's California.
Kinda, yes. Like human beings evolved, and they're like, you know what? We don't want to live next to that. They're going to lessen the value of this planet.
Yep. So instead of Mars attacks, we got this instead. Gotcha.
Mars bails.
Invaders of Mars.
I don't know, but that was another thing where it's kind of like, oh yeah, there were aliens, but we don't see them.
No, but we see what their hand would probably look like.
Yes. Yeah.
And Arnold's hand fits it very perfectly.
It's good for anyway.
Latu verada nectu.
Necktie. Yes, necktie.
Yeah, necktie, yo. All right, Kevin, let's go to final judgment. What's your final judgment on this movie?
I forgot the final judgment slide.
No, that's okay.
Oh, I would have gone with the 3 boobies. Anyway, I love this picture. This is a movie that I don't watch often enough, but I'm never unhappy when I see it. It's so much fun. I know it has nothing to do with the actual story. The reboot was probably also crap. Probably had more to do with the actual story. I'll never know.
I still haven't seen it though.
Yeah, like I'll never know because I won't watch the filthy motherfucker. I love this picture so much.
Yeah, the remake's got Colin Farrell in it and Kate Beckinsale, and I absolutely love Kate Beckinsale. I haven't brought myself to watch it yet.
I like Underworld, but I don't care about anybody in that picture enough to watch a reboot of this. Not after what happened with RoboCop.
That I agree with.
They had me at Batman. They had me at Nick Fury, and they're like, "Come on, baby, RoboCop."
No,
they weren't fooling me with
such
this.
a shit movie.
Sorry,
Joel.
Yeah, no, this is a near perfect action film for me. I absolutely love it. This is one you can take your kids to, minus the 3 boobies and the 13-inch blade going into the penis, but it's
not as bloody as you would think it might be for an Arnold movie.
It was a small penis.
I'm surprised the knife even found it.
That's all I got.
That's fine. My final judgment, I love this movie. It's so much fun, or I wouldn't have like several different copies from throughout the years. And it's a good, fun sci-fi action movie. Yeah, I wish it had a little bit more fighting in it. Yeah, I wish it had some more explosions. And I wasn't a big fan of Melina, but you know what? It doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the movie, like in the least. I think the story's fun. I wish some other things were explained, and some things didn't need to be explained, got explained. But you know, you're gonna have that with just about any sort of movie. You're like, I'd like a little more of this and a little less of that. But for what Paul Verhoeven and Arnold could put together with this movie, it's very reminiscent of how, like, you know, John McTiernan and Bruce Willis came together on Die Hard. That went through so many different iterations, and they just caught lightning in a bottle with the very first Die Hard. I'd say the same thing here with Arnold, who at this point, he was starting to transition between, hey, am I going to be an action movie guy? Because that's starting to kind of fade a little bit, because after Last Action Hero, he's kind of done with action movies for quite some time. He does things more like Kindergarten Cop. He does like Twins. He does like all these other different sorts of movies where he's having to do something else. And so I enjoy this as one of the last big badass movies of his, and I'm just all for it. So just total fun. Can't recommend it any higher than that, and get that damn movie in your collection if it's not already.
Goddamn right. It's a classic. True classic.
Yep, absolutely. What would you give it for a score, though, Kevin?
You know what? I'm giving Total Recall a perfect 10. As far as action movies go,
Nice.
Total Recall is a perfect 10.
I'd go 9.
There's nothing disappointed. I'm not disappointed by anything in this picture.
Absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, I have issues with some things. Like, it only takes it down like maybe a point. So I'm going with a 9 on that. So between us and an average, it'd be like 9.5.
Yeah.
We beat your ass, IMDb 7.5.
Yeah, we like it.
Yep.
So
We like it, and everybody else should too. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to 0 Point Reviews, the good, the bad, the ugly of Total Recall. And be sure to hit that like button down below if you like this review and you want to see more of them. We have a great backlog. Highly recommend everybody go check that out. Hit that subscribe button, the little bell notification, and also put a comment down below. What are your thoughts about this movie? We want to hear it. We will read them all in our comment section, and we sometimes reply. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you all on the next video. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.